I, 19F, told my brother, trans FtM, the truth about his appearance and now he's mad at me.
I, 19F, have a 16-year-old brother Sam who is trans, FtM. I am fully supportive of this. The issue is Sam, despite changing his name and being a boy, is extremely feminine presenting. We're talking, if I didn't know he was my brother, I'd think he was a girl. And that's an issue with outsiders who don't know Sam's identity. He wears Lolita-style dresses, a full face of makeup and styles his long hair. He doesn't wear a binder and so many of the dresses accentuates his boobs. Obviously none of these things make you a girl or boy, but naturally, people see this and make the assumption. That is an issue for Sam. I tried suggesting that he wear a badge with his pronouns on them, or even toning it down with the girly stuff. He asked why and I said straight up, people are gonna think you're a girl when you wear that stuff. It doesn't matter that you're not, people will assume. You either need to accept that or change how you look. It's not fair, but it's how it is.
He got really upset and told me to leave. Now my mom is really mad at me and said I was transphobic. I asked her if she even knew what that meant, but she wouldn't hear me out. I don't want to be that bitch, but I am right. People will always make assumptions, but it's not fair, in my cis opinion, for Sam to get upset if he presents in a feminine way, especially as he is a fab. Let me know if saying that is offensive. I get it's frustrating and I 100% agree, but he doesn't seem to want to understand that that's how it is. How do I get through to him? Is it worth it? Edit. Thank you all for the, mostly, helpful advice.
Unfortunately, I've been getting some nasty messages from people who say they're in the LGBT community and people in the comments speculating on my brother's identity and being fucking nasty and rude about it. I don't care if it comes from a good place. It sucks that it has gotten to this point. I never wanted it to, despite me trying my absolute best to be kind and respectful. Unfortunately, people cannot keep up with the same courtesy. I'll leave the post up. I'm not sure about the rules around deleting active posts, but it is now officially abandoned. I won't be replying to anyone else unless it absolutely have to. Thank you to anyone who was respectful and gave me genuine advice.
Final edit, he's saving up for top surgery when he's 18. He can technically wear binders, but he has lung issues and gets lung infections regularly and so prefers not to when he's got infections. Fair enough, but he doesn't wear them when he's not sick, either. He's on T2. People are not mind readers. If Sam is going to present as a girl, people are going to see him that way. This is like dressing up as a mail carrier, uniform, mail bag, etc., and then getting mad when people assume you are a mail carrier.
I get he wants to be a feminine boy, but if he still looks like a girl, and wears feminine clothes, how the fuck is anyone supposed to know? I'm sorry, but I don't have it in me to do mental gymnastics for every person I meet. Seems like you broached the topic in good faith and got shut down. It's their problem now if they get misgendered and it bugs them. I'd just leave it alone. Info. Does he complain about strangers misgendering him or is he complaining about friends, family doing it? I'm a trans man in my mid-30s and have been wearing Lolita fashion as a hobby for over 20 years. Though usually only to events. Not as an everyday thing. And I don't care about strangers, but I do care if someone who knows me decides something I did makes me a girl. I've also had people try to lecture me about how I should present more masculine or else people won't take me seriously or that I can't ever be frustrated if I'm not mask all the time. Thing is, I've gotten that talk from folks even when I was dressed super masculine. Because too feminine to most folks is anything that isn't passing. I'm short. Closest to passing I get is people thinking I'm a male child. I'm on HRT and wear a binder a lot. But people who know me don't need those things for the same reason I expect people who know me to remember what my name is. If he's mad that strangers don't guess his pronouns right when seeing him in a dress, that's a different conversation and generally means he's got other insecurities that should be talked about. But I don't know a single trans man in the Lolita fashion community who expects people to guess right when he's dressed up unless there's someone who should know better regardless of what he's wearing. Edit to add. Feel free to DM me if you want to talk about this. As a general rule, because I'm not going to ask every single person I come into contact with what their pronouns are, I go by what people present as. If I'm unsure, it's they. But if they're a woman, dressed in women's clothes, wearing makeup, and styling their hair in a way that typically women would do, I'm gonna think they're a woman. I'd let him figure it out himself. Some people create conflict and drama. It sounds like he's determined to create it this way. I have a friend who does this. Says he's a boy and wants to be seen as a boy. But does things like wear skimpy dresses and a full face of makeup and high heels and send selfies to the group chat with his boobs spilling out. Then cries to us that he's always getting misgendered and nobody sees him as a boy. You were right. It may not be fair that people assume your brother is a girl. But at this point in time, that's how it is. If he keeps complaining, maybe just remind him that this will happen less in the future, as his testosterone starts to kick in. And then change the subject. That's what I do. Otherwise you're just gonna get crucified no matter what you say. Especially as a cis person. You don't. One of the more interesting things to me about this whole issue is the assumption that a gender-based greeting, comment, cordiality is an insult. I wouldn't call your brother miss as an insult or a judgment. It's a polite term if I don't know better and need his attention and he presents as female. So to be angry at the general public for these types of interactions is very silly. Now, if you have someone that knows and makes a point to emphasize the wrong terms, sure. I get being reactive to that. I believe your stance is great. You have no problem with him being who he is. But understand that the polite terminology in public may never match what he wants with how he presents. I think your best course is to reaffirm that you are only trying to warn him that the general public may use the wrong terminology not insultingly, but by mistake, so not to take it personally or react poorly to it. It sounds like you're trying to protect him from the world, but you can't ever do that, tbh. I think it's healthy to state your concern, but could definitely become problematic for your relationship with him if you try to protect him in ways that go against his will. So my advice would be take a more reactive approach. If the world beats him down, step in and love him. Don't try to make him into something the world won't beat down as hard from your perspective. Emo. In the world of computer programming, we have something called duck typing. Without going into anything technical, it essentially says, if it has webbed feet like a duck, quacks like a duck, and has wings like a duck, what is it? It's probably a duck. Hopefully it can be seen how the concept is highly analogous to this situation. No reason for anyone to get upset over this. It's basic logic for anyone to assume that, as the majority of people in the world fall into one of the two cisgenders. Hopefully I'm using the right terminology. This isn't to say there's anything wrong with not falling into one of the two cisgenders. It's just not as common. And people's brains make default assumptions. Those default assumptions would have to be overridden by being told, it appears that I am a, but I am actually a. Wearing a dress while insisting he is male seems deliberately calculated to create misunderstandings and consequently drama. Sam may be a mixed-up kid going through some difficult and important stuff. But he is also an asshole and a drama queen. I'd stay out of it. Assumptions are, well, assumed extrapolations to answers from what little evidence you have, if any. It is okay for them to be wrong. If he wants to create drama about it instead of dealing with it maturely, there isn't much to do. Don't apologize if you don't mean it. People get my gender wrong too. But I've never understood getting upset about it. All he has to say is, nah, I'm a boy, guy, man, etc. I just like to present myself this way. I feel it suits me. He shouldn't be mad about people assuming his gender is a girl because he physically appears feminine. I'm so tired of some trans people expecting people to change the way they think and perceive the world in order to tiptoe around hurting their trans-related feelings. Okay, if he didn't care about whether he was seen as a woman or man, I would say this is a pointless argument that you shouldn't have even brought up. However, because he has made it known he is upset about being misgendered, and you have given reasonable solutions to this issue and not just dress like a boy, which I can see you have, then he really needs to calm down and understand that you're trying to be supportive. Anyone messaging you nasty stuff is probably someone who is going through their own identity crisis. So just try and ignore it and be as kind as you can. I would just apologize for offending. But explain that you are a sibling, and every time you see your sibling upset, you try and fix it. Sometimes you overstep and say the wrong thing. It happens. Maybe he wasn't ready to hear that yet. I don't know the case, but he is clearly insecure about his gender identity and still figuring it out. So let him. Maybe he needs to get that feedback. It may help him determine what is comfortable and right for him during his time of transition. IDK just spitballing here. Like for example, maybe he decides, I am only wearing these clothes to make myself fit in, because my body doesn't match. Maybe it's, I identify as a male in the brain, but I really like my body as it is. I'm just going to rock this, who cares what others say. All of this he needs to figure out on his own. All you can do is be there. Listen. Love and don't judge. 2 hearts at it. Definitely some understanding needed on both ends, but I am confident you guys will work it out and be all good again. If someone makes a mistake misgendering, you just tell them nicely and move on with life. You gave your brother some good advice. The real world doesn't care about your feelings, and you're going to have to figure out how you want to deal with your brother and mother going forward. In the future, your brother can get upset to whatever happens to him, but it's not your responsibility to make him feel better. Each person who is a human being has to control their own emotions and not act out harming others. Also, your mother seems highly emotional too, and not talking about the facts. Also remember, he's a young kid, so could take him time to think logically. I mean, as someone who is gender fluid, I know that I exist within a dominate culture that doesn't get it. That can be exhausting. The pin was a great idea. Or they need to spend time correcting everyone. That's their choice. For sure though, they asked and you gave an honest answer that I don't think is transphobic. They'll have to work this out on their own though. I may just be ignorant but genuinely curious if anyone has the patience. Why would someone transition into a male while still outwardly appearing as a female? Is this a common thing? I just don't understand how you would personally benefit from taking hormonal drugs but continuing to dress, act like your born gender? I'd just stop giving him advice. Your brother seems to be coddled by your mom and very much self-absorbed. He doesn't understand that the world doesn't revolve around him. This is not something Jan can teach him. He going to have to learn it on his own. It's not that wrong, it depends. Do you usually have transparent conversations? He'll just have to get used to strangers misgendering him.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.